sincere appreciation for your founding and motivating and establishing and carrying on this Pachyderm Club. And this is a well-deserved, though belated honor that we want to present to you. It is the highest honor bestowed by the Order of Pachyderm. It's a Tough Test Award, and we present that to you in all of our appreciation. Just trying to stop. Really?
This goes to you.
Oh. All right.
This is
May
to
I?
Tony Massaro, Pachyderm Club of San Angelo, for outstanding citizenship in the field of political and government affairs. Politics is the most hazardous of all professions. There is not another in which a man can hope to do so much good to his fellow creatures, neither is there any in which by a mere loss of nerve he may do such widespread harm. Nor is there another in which he may easily lose his own soul, nor is there another in which positive and strict veracity is so difficult. But danger is the inseparable companion of our honor. With all the temptations and the degradation that beset it, politics is still the noblest career that any man can choose. Free government requires active citizenship. Tony, thank you for all the that you've done for us.
Well, thank you all so much. This award really also belongs to the loyal membership and our board of directors, past and present, members past and present. Without them, there would have never been this award. So it definitely has to be shared amongst the club members. I just want to just say a couple of quick things here, because I know we have a huge program today. I'm going to start with two quotes, both from Ben Franklin, and I think it's significant for the time that our country is in. And Ben was a very wise man. I went to school with him back in Philadelphia. You wouldn't know that, would you? Okay. Ben said, "Lean liberty is better than fat slavery." Think about it. Lean liberty is better than fat slavery. Our country is kind of headed in that direction these days because of all the giveaway programs that everybody's promoting at all levels of government. Don't need it. Lean liberty. The next thing that Ben said, among many other things that he said, was, "Truth fears no trial." What does that mean? It means transparency in government. For all things in government, transparency is very important. Without transparency from our officials, we really have a dictatorship, in a sense. So demand that transparency at all levels, at all times. And then the other thing I want to say is, as a Republicans seem to have a reputation, especially within the national media, as being people who are not caring of what goes on around them in society and their fellow man and woman. And that is not so. This club, one of the things I'm very proud of, has reached out to the community in many ways. We've done charitable work, we've given to different charitable causes at all levels. We're interested in our community, and again, we've reached out to our community with different charitable drives, and will continue to do so in the future. So, again, these are all the things that I'm proud of this club of ours, and to carry on the work of good government. So again, thank you all so much for this award, but it's also yours. And That's all, I guess that's enough to be said.
If you're an elected official, will you please stand up? All right, nod your directions, tell me who you are.
Tim Bosco,
Chief of Police.
Rebecca County Commissioner. David Jones, Sheriff.
Liz McGill, County Clerk.
Don Bartman, Single Member District, City Council.
Rodney Fleming, Single Member District 1, City Councilman.
Johnny Silva, City Council, SMD 3.
Dwayne Morrison, Mayor of the City of San Angelo.
Today's timekeeper will be Don Miller, and today is that the mic? Okay. Terry will go ahead and introduce the folks that are running. The last time the council people were running, didn't they say something about the police department getting a new police department? Or, correct me if I'm wrong. You got that police department yet, Sheriff?
No.
Chief? Not yet, okay. I don't want to put you on the spot or embarrass you.
That's okay.
That's all right. Come on, Terry.
Okay, number one, what this is going to be an informational forum for us to learn, basically what our city council does. And each candidate will introduce themselves and will tell us which position they are running for and what their qualifications are for that office they're running for. Okay, and each of them will be given 5 minutes to speak, and Don's going to be, because we got enough time, we can do 5 minutes each. And so Don will hold up when you get 30 seconds left, so watch Don back here. When he says 30 seconds, you got to start winding it down.
Before we start, Tony had something to do. Tony, you had to give some certificates?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, all the candidates that ran in this past election right now that were not successful, will they all please stand? All the ones that are here, please stand. This is something we try to do at the Pachyderm Club to recognize the people that made the effort to run. And I'm going to read this real quick. It says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat." Theodore Roosevelt, Citizenship in a Republic, speech at the Sorbonne in Paris, France, April 23rd, 1910.
Don, Marlon, Richard,
Thank you.
You miss it.
Thank you, Tony.
did we miss anybody? Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, now we're going to cut it back to 4 minutes. Okay,
Wait a minute.
okay, Don's got to reset his machine. You ready, Don? Okay, we're going to do this in reverse order this time. Usually we start with District 1 and go through. We're going to start with District 5 and go up to backwards. So first up is going to be Liz Gilstaff? Grindstaff, I get it right. I can read it over there, but I flunked English in school, so. So you're up, you get 4 minutes.
Come here.
Up here and walk into this.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. This is a very different audience than I'm used to, and I've been out of public life for a few years, so cut me a little slack if that's even possible. My name is Elizabeth Grindstaff, A lot of folks call me Liz, my friends do, and please do. As you may know, I worked for the city of San Angelo for about 8 years, and before that I was also in other roles in city government in other Texas cities. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree from Texas A&M, which led me into municipal government, local government. And I'd love to say that I have all this private sector experience, but I will tell you I'm very proud of my local government work. We're not all cut out for it, and some days we all need to take a rest from it. I think I did. But I really am quite proud of the things that I got to work on, and I really enjoyed working for community and building community. I've been in private sector for about 1.5 years, and it's been very eye-opening. And I'll be very brief on that. I really enjoyed the city of San Angelo and my other cities, which included Hillsborough, the city of Dallas, the city of Bryan, and the city of Abilene. But because I have sort of a public sector ethic, I truly believe in transparent government. And I believe that the people that live within a community really should have the say in the community that's created. Some people see me as a regulator, and I completely buy that. That was the role that I was in at the city, and I do believe in some local regulation, as long as it's for the benefit of the whole. But I think that those regulations should be completely directed at the kind of local government that you want. I'm a firm believer in that local government should be the government that we are most tied to. I can't talk about what's happening at the federal level. I'll let y'all. I don't want to. But this is where we get our services. These are the people that we interact with every day. These are the people who tell us what they want. These are the people that we can go to when we need help, when we're having a local crisis. And so I really believe in the function of local government, and again, in its transparency and in meeting the needs of the people. I'm running, as they said, for single member District 5. I do have an opponent. I have not met him yet, and I look forward to doing that, and I look forward to campaigning with each of you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if there'll be questions at the end, but...
If we have time.
Okay. And so I think that's all I need to say about myself. In the end, I think campaigning is really about hearing more from the citizens, and that's what I look forward to doing.
Okay, next up is Philip Skinner, her opponent, but I never met him. I don't know what he looks like. Is he here? Okay, then we will move on. Okay, the next candidate up is Ignacio Garcia. Is he here?
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him either. Okay, then Johnny Silvas, you're up. This is City Council Member District 3.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. And let me just say that I did get a call from Phil Skinner this morning, and he wanted to apologize that he didn't get an email, he didn't get a phone call, he didn't get anything, but he said he was tied up. And I told him that I experienced the same thing. Got it late yesterday, so I'm glad to be here, really am. And I am Johnny Silvas. I am running for re-election for SMD 3. And you know, back in January of 1970, I was 10 years old, and we got uprooted from the Midland, Odessa area and moved brought to San Angelo. And I'll never forget coming over the Chapman Street Bridge and watching Neff's Amusement Park, and then the rolling hills behind the swimming pool. And I fell in love with this community right away. I thought we had landed in paradise. Grew up, I'm a proud product of the Boys Club back then. Now it's Boys and Girls Club. And that was a home away from home. And I think that's where I got a lot of my leadership skills, is the things that they taught us. And Mr. Chambliss is one of my heroes. And he taught me a lot and took me under his wing. So I had a person right there that really watched after us. Grew up, went to Fort Concho, went to Edison, went on to Central and ASU. Years later got married. We had a son, did the same route. My son ended up at ASU, now he's in Round Rock, and happily married 3 years. And my wife, I've been with her 31 years. And people always ask me about grandkids. Well, I've got 3 grandkittens and a grandpuppy. That's about as close to grandkids I've got. But really, my passion for serving began when my son was in the 1st grade. and I was invited to join the PTA, and I became president and treasurer and parliamentarian. I did the whole works. And we were the Gatorade crew at Central High School. The best 3 years of my life was following my son in the honors band, jazz band, and marching band and all. After that is when I was offered the idea of running for school board, which I thought they were crazy. I'm not going to run for school board. Well, at the end, they won. And I'm glad that they talked me into it. Those were the best 3 years of my life also. It's nothing more than a glorified parental involvement position anyway. But really, the number of lives that I was able to touch, the teachers, the staff, and people asked me, they had an interview a while back, what was the hardest part of it all? I'll be down in 1 minute. It was signing on the dotted line. So then next came city council, and then I lost my first time around, and I was there the second. I'm about to end my third term. And you know what? I have a passion for serving, because not only do I touch people, I don't care where you live. You know, when they call me, ask me, who is my council person? I said, well, where do you live? I said, well, I can help you. I can cut through the red tape. And so I don't mind helping people, whether you live at Lakeview or Lake Nasworthy or the Bluffs. It doesn't matter. I'm there to serve and be your middle person, so to speak. And I love what I do, you know, and I can sleep good at night knowing that I've done the best job that I possibly can. And I'll end with that, but thank you again for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to some questions later. Thank you.
And his opponent, Richard Bastido? Bastardo, I'll get it right.
Thank you, folks. It saddens me that there's not a teleprompter.
Yeah.
My name is Richard Bastardo Sr. I'm 62 years old. I was born and raised in this town. Been here all my life. The Bastardo family has been here 120 years, and we don't plan to go nowhere. Okay? My wife, Mary Helen, and I have been married for 45 smackaroos. Tied the knife when we were 17. Finished raising each other. We have 4 children, ages 44 to 27. We've got 8 grandkids, 5 granddaughters, 3 grandsons. Ages, I try to forget that. Ages 19 to 5. Now, when it comes to duties and responsibility as an elected official, there's a bunch of them. You've got a full plate when you get there. Duties. You should always know before you even run for these things that it's your duty, okay, to not get there and follow the leader. You don't cater to the extreme. You don't become a rubber stamp. That's not healthy, that's not good for the community. And when you're up there casting votes, make sure that you can justify every vote. And don't you dare forget to vote your conscience. Responsibility again. It is elected officials' duty to always think about the citizens, because when you get up there, your voice should be their voice, your time should be their time, okay? It is your duty when you're up there to listen to everybody that comes to the podium, whether it's proposing something or opposing that. You don't cater to the extreme again. You stay there, you listen to everybody, but you never forget what's in the middle. It's the taxpayers in this community that you're representing. Another duty of duty is to, at all times, you should protect the integrity and tranquility that these people are experiencing and they've got in their communities. Don't ever let some out of towner come in here and dictate to us when it comes to low-income housing and all this, that, and other. You gotta never forget those people come from Dallas and some other places, and once they are successful, they line up their pockets and they're gone. You don't see them no more. This is our city. Now, qualifications. I am a former commissioner at HUD. I am a former planning commissioner with 2 years experience, real important. Miss Grindstaff can tell you about that, she was the planning director. Now, I'm a former 2-year member of the board of directors at the appraisal district. That's very important. That's a good qualification. And of all, I'm a former city councilman. And I, like Liz, took a long break. But I've been there. And I've seen things and I've heard things that you folks never get to see. Transparency, I don't care for those closed sessions behind closed door sessions like, what do they call it?
Executive.
Yeah, I know. Why is it executive session? It ought to be open to the public. But he's waving me off, so I've got to cut it off. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Okay, next we're coming up with District 1, which is my district, so I'm going to pay close attention to these guys. Okay, first up is Bill Richardson.
Thanks for the invitation. Oh, okay.
It'll take 4 minutes to reset the clock.
Almost. Okay, go.
You ready? Okay, my name is Bill Richardson. My family and I moved here from Canada about 19 years ago, and I ran last time in the election. And I'd say we came here and we were welcomed here. We planned on staying 2 years just to see how the place was and the changes after, we stayed 19 years. I worked for the Alberta government for what they call environmental protection there at Fort Land Department of Forestry, many different names. And one of the reasons I decided to run this time was because of the water issue. I think that we need to do something about the invasive species in the Twin Buttes Reservoir. I think that that needs to be cleaned out so that the water will run into the reservoir, and then we'll have water into Lake Nasbury so we can have our recreation. However, I have decided that I'm not going to continue in the race. I'm going to withdraw my name. I talked to my wife and my son last evening, and I don't have enough time to campaign properly. So I decided I'm going to withdraw my name, and I put my support behind Trinidad Prairie. I think he's the best candidate for single member District 1. Thank you very much.
Well, I mentioned Trinidad, he's up next. Okay, this is still District 1. Looks like we're going to have time for questions.
That's a good thing. So does that mean I get your minutes? First off, I'd like to thank Bill. Bill, I know that was a very tough decision for you and your family, and thanks again for that commitment. I'm Trinidad Aguirre. I'm running for SMD1, and just a little bit about my background. I was standing before you last time for this race, and I lost by about 100 votes. The issue that I had was name recognition, and I will tell you that I take the full blame for that because I didn't walk enough. I didn't walk the streets enough, and at the end of the day, I still had soles on my feet. So this campaign, I'm running hard. From my background, the easiest way that I can tell you if you need additional data is if you Google my name. You go to Google, Yahoo, whatever you like to do, look up Trinidad Aguirre, and when you go to bed about 6 hours later, you'll be able to find that there are hundreds of pages there with the achievements that I've been able to do over my 30-year career with Verizon. During Verizon, I started on Twig Street as a technician, ended up as the president. At the end of my, when I retired from Verizon, I had about 13,000 employees. I had a revenue budget of a little over $1 billion, and my expenses were around the 900 million. So, Sheriff, we could have built you that, very easily built you a new police station. So, what that means, and I don't really want to talk about the Verizon side of it, it means that I have the expertise, the abilities, whether it's marketing, sales, whatever the issue is, we've dealt with them before. The territory that I ran was everything from California to Florida, Texas, the Midwest, and the Northwest area. So what that allowed me to do was to learn to delegate, but more importantly, to trust people. I believe that in order to be successful, you have to trust your candidates. And I'll tell you a story that my president once told me, or it was my CEO. He says that sometimes we don't get mad enough. And he said, what I'd like everyone in this room to do is get up and throw the chair against the far wall as far as you can and as hard as you can. And he said, because we're too complacent. He says, sometimes you see that what's happening to our water, you see what's happening to everything else that's occurring to our streets, to our safety and everything else, and we just don't get mad enough. And so what he was telling us at the time was that we need to get more involved and to get right in the middle of everyone's face to do that. With the leadership that I bring, what I can assure you is I have a lot of teeth. And I may be one of the nicest guys. I will listen. I don't know how many of you read about my home there in Bentwood. It's a very nice home. But the takeaway from that was, when you come to my home, you're welcome. And it doesn't matter when you sit down and have a cup of coffee with me, you won't even know that there's 4 walls around you. That's kind of the way that I am as a person. I ensure that I listen. I ensure that I act. What you will get from me if I am elected to this position is an action-oriented person. I believe that we're not making decisions fast enough. For example, we have the pipeline. Do we have the water filtration plant? No. We knew for 18 months that was going to be here. Why haven't we reacted fast enough? So there's a lot of things that we could have done, should have done, and I promise you that if elected, just like I was in Verizon, and you can Google, I take action, and I take very quick, decisive action. I don't need 100% to be able to make a decision. I'm good with 80%. And sometimes there's questions that need to be answered. Sometimes there's not enough time because we, the citizens, just can't wait. We can't run out of water. We can't let our streets get any further down. So I would appreciate your vote. I can assure you that if elected, I will do the right thing for you and that you can trust me with everything you've got. Thank you.
Okay, and our final candidate is going to be Rodney Fleming, who is the incumbent. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but...
I guess you could look at it either way. Hey, everybody, my name is Rodney Fleming. If you're into politics at all, you know...
Rodney, hold it a minute. I'm telling you.
4 minutes. 4 minutes. Go ahead and help him.
Rodney, will you pass the popcorn out or something? Okay, go.
Okay, again, my name is Rodney Fleming, and if you've watched any of the city council meetings in the last 7 months, you know who I am. I'm very boisterous, I'm very opinionated, and I believe that I've gotten a lot accomplished in the last 7 months. One perfect example of this, well, let's go back to my background. First of all, I'm a father, I have 3 kids. I was first stationed here in 1986 in the Air Force. I was stationed here from 1986 till 1989. I moved away and I decided when my first son was born that San Angelo probably would be the best place to raise my kids, so I moved back here in 2000. I came back here in 2000. So that kind of is a little bit about my background. I am a realtor, broker here in town. I've been in real estate for 21 years and I own my own business. And I know Trinidad has a lot of experience with big money. I have experience with little money. I have to make my payroll 2 weeks or whatever with my staff. So I feel like that can be a big deal when you don't have money. And I don't have a lot of money. I'm not a wealthy person. But that talks about that. If you go into my actions, I believe my actions in the last 7 months speak louder than anything that I could ever say up here. If going to the police station and the police officers, we've been in meet and confer for the last 5.5 months, I believe. And I was actually there this morning for 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours this morning. And I cannot believe how long it is taking us as a city to go through this procedure. It's unbelievable. It blows my mind that we're wasting. Up there this morning, I think there was 13 police officers up there, and this is not against you, this is against the city. But there's 13 police officers up there that could have been out on the street. We should get to this where it's a lot more streamlined. And that's one of the things that I had to talk with Daniel after the meeting this morning. He took me up to his office, and I had to voice some opinion during the meeting. And I look at it as the police officers and firemen, I treat them differently than regular city staff. City staff deserves raises also, but I think that they deserve higher raises. I have been one of the driving forces on the water issues right now. The Red Arroyo project, I kept coming and trying to get them to bring it back, and I was the one that asked for it to be out in the public and bringing the presentation out there. This is a thing that I truly, truly believe in. I think it should have been done 20 years ago, and we wouldn't have the problems we're going to have here in the future. That UCRA is on board with that. They like it. The city staff is kind of iffy on that. They think that there might be some problems with there, but I think that it's a very, very viable project, and it can be done in less than 3 years. So I think that could be a really good thing for us. I've been heavily involved in our long-term water future, and Mayor Morrison can attest to that. There are several things that we're working on right now, and I think it's good, but they're not going to be fast. I think that our city council in the past has really failed us. Just as Trinidad said, that water filtration plant should have been done. It blows my mind that it wasn't done at the same time the pipeline was finished at the end. And no one, to this day, can give me a true answer of why they weren't started at the same time and finished at the same time. I don't understand that. I'm truly, truly worried for our city. I'm worried that we are going to run out of water. And that's what I go to sleep every night, worried about it. I wake up in the morning, I'm worried about it. I take this job very, very seriously. I work a lot of hours. People don't understand how many. This morning I was there 2.5 hours. I have this deal, and I have 2 more meetings this afternoon I'm going to. I put the time in. I'm not getting paid. You know, everybody knows what my check is. It's $19.40 take home right now. So I just want to end by saying that I'm running for single member District 1, and I would appreciate your vote. And thanks for giving me the time to talk before you.
Okay, we have time for some questions. There's 2 people who weren't here. I've got a question first. I'm going to make a statement, then I've got a question for all of the candidates. If you go to www.brb.state.tx.us, you can see the bond issues for the city of San Angelo, for Tom Green County, and for San Angelo ISD. Now, my question is, does all of the candidates know what the total debt is for the city of San Angelo? Well, I can tell you what it is. As of last week, it was $252,231,787. Now, my question to all of the candidates are, do you have a plan to reduce our city debt? And if you do, what is it? Anyone?
I'd like to start. I think I'm also, as part of the daily jobs, I'm the area representative for the West Texas Oil Consortium. So I'm dealing with a lot of the oil companies. I believe in order to reduce the debt, you can't go after the citizens. We're taxed enough with the water rates and everything else that we've got looking at. So I believe that we've got to continue to go after businesses that don't utilize water. I'm meeting with one this afternoon that is looking at doing a transportation But I believe the secret to doing that is to bring in a revenue base that we can go directly after. And I think we've got a huge opportunity by finding the right economic growth and development, to get our revenue up.
Anyone else?
I mean,
Okay,
I know that,
If y'all will speak up there, then you're going to be on film. If you don't want to be on film, stand at the table.
Well,
Well, I did, but you had already started speaking.
I don't want to go on film, thank you.
Terry, I think the big chunk of money, when I saw the list right away, the hickory that we just,
Yeah, but I know that's what,
that's 120 million of it. And even that idea has been on the table for about 30, 40 years, So we had to, this project landed in our lap, and sure, maybe it wasn't done exactly perfect right, but I think we've got, we keep on saying 14, 15 months of water supply. So I think by the filtration plant will be done, will complete in November. So I think it's just perfect timing for us to tap into it, clean the water. And if we happen to run out of water before then we can mix that water. I mean, we already have the pipeline here. We can mix it with what we have now. And that may not be the best idea, but I think Rodney at one of the meetings said, hey, I used to drink that water back from Melvin, and the folks, Mason, and even the folks down there are drinking it, so maybe it's not that bad, maybe it's, some folks just thought maybe it was just painted wrong as being terrible water. So.
Jerry, let's put this in perspective. You have $252 million, $250 million in bonds that you're going to have to pay off. You know what the budget is. What are you paying for that every year, so we know how many years it's going to take to pay that off?
Each one's different.
each one.
They're all different.
They are all different, school district, county. I don't know that, Fred, but I can certainly get you that number. But I'm just saying, I know that we've been lowering the
Most bonds
property
are paid
tax.
off in 20 or 30 years, and that's it.
I know we've been trying to lower the property tax every year for the last 10 years, and I think we've kept it, we're doing a good job, but, that's a big number, that it's going to take a little while longer to tackle.
I have a question.
Can I answer that?
Oh, sure.
Wait a minute, Liz has a question first.
I think Rusty
does too.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Okay.
We'll see if I agree with you.
Probably won't. Well, first of all, I'm a no foo-foo type of guy. And when I say that, I mean all these little pet projects that keep coming up. This is a perfect example, and I'm going to make people upset, but that's pretty much what I do anyways. The dog park. The dog park I love. I have 2 German Shepherds myself. I think it would be a cool idea. I wish that the private sector, we could get the private sector to come in and pay for the dog park. I don't think us as a city should be paying for a dog park. The next thing is, we did all this work down on the river down there. We spent over $11 million down there upgrading it and making it beautiful. It's probably one of the nicest river walks in the whole state of Texas, the whole state. And there's no one down there. There's no one ever down there at any time. Well, we were approached probably about 6 months ago by some investors from out of town that were talking to us about putting some apartment complexes, high-end apartment complexes down there on some city land, doing possible lease. This is something that I think would be a very good thing for the city because it's going to bring in a huge tax base. We'll get a lot of money, and we'll get people down there on the Riverwalk actually using the Riverwalk. So I think that we really, really need to be working hard to twist those guys' arms and get them down there. The downtown has totally been revived, and it's doing so much better, and our police force is taking care of so much of the stuff downtown. It's one of the safest areas you can go to throughout the whole state. I think that by getting more people down there and more builders and more investors, we have a couple of restaurants that are going to be down there. I think Twisted Root is in the process of doing that, and there's one other pretty big one that's down there. So that will help raise that. To answer your question on the bonds, though, they're all staggered. And so there's just, I don't think there's anything that we can do other than making those payments. I was in that meeting for 2.5 hours this morning, and I was looking at those numbers because we're trying to figure out how to get these guys the extra money they need to get for their pay. And it's really hard right now. When we talk about, we did 3 or 4 years ago, we did a deal where we said that we were gonna lower our tax rate down, and we are being taxed too much. I totally agree with that, but I also see it as, if we lower that down, we're gonna have to lower some services in other places. I would be more of the opinion of staying where we are now, not raising taxes. I don't wanna raise taxes. But I don't think we should lower it again to 1/2 cent or 1 cent sales tax in the future. I think we should keep that going, and that will help pay for some of those items. Okay. Thank you.
Don't sit with Terry, to his back. I think everybody made really good points, and I think I strongly agree with Trinidad on the issue of economic development. I don't think our city has done all that it can in economic development. And I know we're not really comfortable with a lot of promises. I don't like tax breaks and things like that, honestly. But I think in the end, what we do is we do need to share the tax base so that we don't have to lower services. I think we have a certain expectation, a certain quality of life that we've really enjoyed here. And I think so the way to help the individual out is to expand that tax base and bring in some industry, as he said, that are not water, not water heavy. I think right now though we're seeing a little bit of a disconnect between what the council wants out of economic development and what the development corporation may want out of economic development. And I'm not really sure why that is at such an impasse, because we're all dealing with the same constituents. But I think that's something that we've struggled maybe because of the infancy of our development corporation and how that should function. But I think San Angelo does not have a reputation of being business friendly when you look at us according to the rest of the state. And I think that's one of those issues that we could more easily overcome with some good dialogue. And we need to have more business here, not again that jeopardizes our quality of life, but really helps us sustain what we believe to be critical. I'll disagree with you just for the sake of disagreement, Rodney, on one thing. One of the things I think that was so interesting to me when I moved to San Angelo was the river. And I know we've spent a lot of money on it, and luckily I was only one vote in that total package on the 1/2 cent sales tax. But to me, the river represents something that is available to all citizens, regardless of whether you're the richest or the poorest in town. And if you watch that river any time after, 5:30 in the evening, if the weather is good, it's almost like an outdoor party. Yeah. Anybody that is within walking distance is there. You see little birthday parties at the picnic tables. You see people having lunch that may not have another place to go, and they bring their sack lunch, and they sit at those picnic tables. And I love that about San Angelo, and I think that is one of our unique features. Having been in Abilene, they had river envy. I mean, Abilene couldn't figure out how to get a river downtown. They were always talking about San Angelo. So we really are lucky to have some resources. And again, whether you believe in the budget or not, council voted on it. It's a project that I think in the end will be something that we can all be proud of. Dog parks, I believe that water is our #1 issue. Water, water, water. There was a big clap yesterday at the council meeting having to do with getting our streets in better shape. We'd all like better streets, but there ain't no reason for people to be here driving around if there's no water. So I really hope that we get busy with the water issue, and I think your point y'all brought up as to why it's not done. I'm not sure who's going to answer for that, but right now it's not me. So thank you.
One more comment on this issue.
When it comes to those bonds, I can't say nothing. I'm not there, I'm not looking at them. What I can say is simple, common sense. You're spending more than what your income is. There's no doubt about it. I agree with Mr. Fleming. We have a Chihuahua, pure Mexican. And we take her across the street to the park and walk her. All that's fine and dandy, but I ain't taking a note on that. No way. Now, when it comes to taxes, I took a break from this for a long time. thanks to Mr. Bob Reeves. He's the one that knocked me off the pedestal and never have been grudged. When it comes to taxes, now, bear along with what I'm saying. I took a long break, but when I was on the appraisal district, your taxes do go up every 4 years, whether you know it or not. There's a wheel, so to speak. It spins for 4 years, but when it stops on tax increase. Huh? Okay? Now, when it comes to water, I've been here all my life. Some of you folks, most of you folks, got to see North Concho Lake. Now the O.C. Fisher, or reservoir, whatever. You had more boats and people enjoying that water than you had at Lake Nasworthy, because Lake Nasworthy came later. But when I was on the city council, this pipeline came before us. We couldn't justify the price tag. Okay? We turned it down. And when I was growing up, they had bought all the pipe that was needed for the pipeline. It set up there in the main drags of the Houston Heart. And then all of a sudden they got rid of it. Did we make money or did we lose? I don't know, but ask yourself that question.
We'll start with any other questions. I appreciate it. You want any other questions?
Oh.
We appreciate your commentary, though. Yeah, any other questions? Come on, let's share them, okay? You go.
Okay, I know the city's in debt, 200 million. I think part of the tax is that other part is...
252 million,
Okay.
a quarter of a billion, right?
Okay, part of my tax bill, the biggest portion, I think, goes to the school district.
No, this is just the city.
Well, I mean, but of our property
Yes,
tax.
party, right.
And now, I don't really mind paying the city taxes, but paying the school taxes, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated with it because, you know, we homeschooled our kids, or they went to a small Christian school. Excellent education, excellent college students, but it kind of bothers me because we pick on the city taxes, where I think my real issue is with the school taxes. But part of the biggest problem with the school taxes is we're supporting dysfunctional families. And teachers are not only teaching, they have to be social workers and everything else.
Right.
And I don't know how we address that as taxpayers.
I think over and over again, the problem with education is disintegration of the American family. We need to fix that. Okay, next question. Yes,
I
ma'am.
had a question. When we first got here in '83, the next amusement park was down there, so there were a lot of families coming. Can we not get a business in there to bring some of those families back, and that would solve some of the
And that would
problems?
be the private
I
sector.
believe
That's
so.
good. That's good.
Right. If there's not someone out there
Yes,
interested?
ma'am, answer that. Go ahead. You get a lot of FaceTime here. Keep
I'm trying. I'm trying. I do on the council also. That we're working on that right now. In fact, they're working on a public-private partnership down there where they're going to build. They're working on a building and doing another putt-putt course down there and possibly doing a little paddle boat rental and things like that down there to drive people down there and going down there. And earlier, just to address I wasn't saying there aren't very many people down there, but what I want to, you're just being mean. You're just being mean. Is all you're doing. When I was saying that, though, I want the apartment complexes that will be down there. The plans that I looked at were super nice, and it would drive all those people down there to all those restaurants that are down there, and it would bring in more, possibly another grocery store down there and things like that, and revitalize that area even more. So, but they're working on that right now to work on a little house. There used to be a little house there where the train was.
And what happened to the train?
They sold it off years ago.
Oh, they did?
But they're working on the project right now to get that done.
Stay up here. Last time, one of my pet questions here. Last time that you folks were all running for city council, we were talking about the new police station, and everybody was very positive at that. That went away for some reason. What's your comments on that? I'd like to have all of you guys come up and make a comment on that.
Yeah, why did it go away?
Let him.
You can buy my dinner later, anyhow.
Plain and simple, we don't have the money right now. I mean, Tim knows that, he's looking at the same budgets that I'm looking at, we don't have the money out there. We all want that, and I am in favor of doing that to some extent. I don't want to do 20 million, but I think if we could do 5, 8 million, if we can figure out how to do that, I think we can get that through, and I think we can make it work at that. But at this moment, there just isn't any money. Again, I was in the budget meetings this morning, and we're having a hard time getting them raises, much less 5 to 8 million or 10 million, whatever. For
Elizabeth, can I step up here?
Can I say this?
You can say whatever you want to, it's a free country.
It's still free country.
I know I'm not used to having a totally open mic. I'll get there, but one of the projects that we were working on when I left the city was a way to get rid of overlap, government overlap in our community between the city and the county. And yeah, I think what the city has seen is a lot of transition in leadership, certainly from the staff perspective, and it's hard to keep projects going. It just has been. But I think we're feeling rather stable now, and I think we're expecting some really good things. One of those projects, though, had to do with the law enforcement center, like they did between Abilene and Taylor County. I'm just using that as an example because I was up there. I didn't work on that project. But we were having meetings, and that's how the sheriff and I first met, was talking with the chief staff and the county as to how we might be able to do that. So in the end, probably if that occurs, it won't have to be completely the burden of the city taxpayer. It might be something that we could do with the county, because I think they're in a similar position at the city. Their resources are scattered. It's not the most efficient building they have. Certainly from PD, I think if anybody's ever had anything traumatic happen to their family with regard to a crime, if you could walk through that building, you would not understand how the labs work and how they can solve a crime. It is so difficult. So they're doing great things with what little they have. But, you know, City Hall got done. There was a way to do that. There was a way to do other buildings. And that should be on the agenda as well, if and when funds are made available.
Good ideas. Trinidad, come on up, you need some FaceTime.
Can I answer
You stand
that?
behind me. No, you're next. Let's have Trinidad first. Johnny, stay up here, it's all right, go away.
So I have to face the camera there. Hi, camera. You know, one of the things that we all know is, and if you just think about your own personal lives, if you want something done, you get it done. The reason we don't have a police department is, it's not the budget. We all know we have a budget. It's because we're not dedicating our resources to it. I can assure you tomorrow, if you wanted to carve out the money and something had to be taken away, you just got to make tough choices. I was here when I had talked to the police chief, and that was one of the things we looked at. And yes, there's all the excuses in the world. But if you want something done, I can assure you that you, the taxpayers, and you and everyone else would find a way. Does something have to give up? Do you have to give something up? Yes. But that's why we have council people to make those tough choices. So my take on it is, it's not a high enough priority. And it won't be until we sit down and we say, it's going to get done, and then I can assure you it will be done at some cost, but it will be done, and we'll be thankful for it.
Johnny, where you at?
No, I just wanted to add that, and, you know, I've often said, you know, and I've always wanted them to have a nicer building. I've been there, it's very antiquated, but I've always asked in a joking manner if we could get our own printing press, print our own money to get you what you want. But really, that's what it's going to take. You know, I'm blasted every time about Bell Street, you know, and I'm blasted about, you know, the Avenue P project that's there, it's funded. We ran into a kink, and hopefully it gets done within the next couple of months. But even to address the school district taxes, you know, we figured these folks would, you know, we had a 20% exemption, you know, we figured they'd knock it down a couple of percentage points, but they took it all. And I'm in total agreement with you. You know, they seem to just kind of take it easy out there, and we get, you know, the tough questions, which is fine. That's why, you know, I learned when I was on school board, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. I love sitting in the kitchen. I love being the cook. I love being the representative for the folks I represent. But again, we are working on an interlocal agreement with the county so that we don't spin our wheels, because we've got two government entities that are spinning wheels and overlapping duties, but we could save money when we come together. So that is in the works. There's a meeting next week. I forget what day it was, but we are working on an interlocal. I know that the high salaries of some of these officials, city officials, was mentioned, and I don't know. Sometimes it takes that type of a salary to bring a good individual in. Maybe we need to look at the second guy in line, you know, as far as salary goes. I don't know, you know, but to answer your question, that is, we're just trying to get top qualified people in town. Maybe we've done a good thing in doing it, maybe not, I don't know, but anyway.
What priority would you put that police station?
I would put it, I think,
Well, of course.
no, because it's not one of my top priorities, honestly. Water's top priority. Streets, my goodness, you know, we need better streets for these police cars to drive on, you know. So streets, and then maybe after that, I'm talking about, you know, streets and just continue. We talked about the economy of the city. We are going to put a state-of-the-art miniature golf course down there to attract more traffic.
What about the dog park?
I'm not going to touch that one, but although I made a comment that I did visit a dog park in Round Rock. It was beautiful and all, but it can be done privately. But again, trying to drive more people to town to pay food at the restaurants and buy gas, and you know, the list goes on and on. That's money in our coffers. So anyway,
Just give me about a minute. We gotta cut this. Okay. We gotta start.
Fred, why are you cutting me off? You're like the mayor. That's what I'm saying. I got a order.
There's other people here.
Well, I understand, but
Go ahead.
don't I have a right to speak?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Well, I think you better extend it, brother. I want to answer her question about the train. When I was on the city council, it was a 4-3 vote. We bought that train.
Yes, you did.
For a measly $18,000 compared to what one of those things would cost now.
Where is it?
Well, after I was knocked off my pedestal, they sold it. Where did it go? I don't know. Did we make money, lose money? I don't know. But now everybody's talking about we'd like to have a train. And I agree with you. I'd like to have that train. We bought the train, the track, the tires, and the house it used to sleep in. We've got facilities. We could have kept it and stored it. It wouldn't be paying rent on our own properties.
I
You know.
don't know where.
But that's to answer your question.
I remember.
But I better shut it off because they might call security guard or something.
We have.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just want some clarification, because you mentioned the golf course down on the river. You're talking public funded, private, because we had a miniature golf course on the river for years. If it wasn't profitable and wasn't getting enough business, should the city subsidize one down there? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, we're looking at a public/private type of setting down there. We want to allow a private citizen to come in there and run, you know, we don't even want to staff it. We don't have a person to staff something like that, but we'd like to at least build one, and it's in the works, it's funded and all. It's part of the half-cent sales tax money that was left over, but
No. Go ahead, Jim.
it's just a public-private type of partnership that we're looking at.
So you're taking our taxpayer dollars to build it, and then you're gonna turn it over to a private company to run?
No. We're going to allow a private citizen to come in here and partner with us.
It still sounds to me like you're spending our money to build it.
You would lease them the land, they would build it, so our part would be just to lease them the land, because it's our property.
They're going to fund building the golf course. You're just leasing them the land, is that?
We're not, I guess I'm being told, no, I thought that's what I had read, that we were gonna, but no.
We're going to, as far as I know now, we're going to build it, okay? It's part of the half-cent sales tax, because that was part of the river.
It was a project.
The project.
Before I was here, again, that's a food thing.
Okay, I'm gonna, guys, okay, yeah, sure, I'm sorry, Don.
I'd like to have the mayor come up,
speak to this issue.
He's not running, he's not a candidate.
He's not a candidate, but this is an issue.
Would you, Mayor, do you want to put yourself in the spot for that?
Might as well. Giddy up. I've not been shot at today.
We did vote on a half-cent sales tax to do the beautification on the river, to put the rocks on it, to make the walking paths. And it was about a $13 million project. In this, we had planned to develop an area where we could have a Neff's type amusement park, a miniature golf course to replace what we've had in the past. So there was monies put into this in the original plan. So that's what they're saying in the original tax. Yes, this was part of the river development. We haven't done it yet. We are now seeking those that will come in with their own money and with their own people and with their own. We can then lease them the land. If we need to use some of the half-cent sales tax to build them facilities, then we can do that and they can lease it from us. It's just a partnership where we can't do it as a city. They would be able to bring their money and their people and all of the equipment and do it, and we would be able to utilize the city land, and it's all part of our half-cent sales tax to bring people to the city. It's economic development. Does that kind of explain it?
You know, if you guys have questions at city council or the county commissioners or the school board, show up and speak your mind. That's what you need to do. Now, I need to make an announcement that next month, we're going to try to have the Pregnancy Health Center director here, because Lyle Lynn talked to her already, and that's a fantastic organization. It goes just with our values and stuff, so I encourage you all to come next month again. And candidates, thank you all for coming here. And Mr. Mathordo, thank you for coming up here and speaking your mind. I know you always do, so that's good. And best of luck to all of you who are campaigning. Appreciate it, and that ends in, got anything? Terry? Okay, all right, thank you all. I appreciate it.